I was working as a TV executive, and I loved my job and my team. And then I got a new boss, and he sucked. Anyone ever have a bad boss? You're my people. This guy became the bane of my existence. I was in a constant power struggle with him. And in the process, I was losing sleep, and I was losing my mind, and I was losing my way. My team felt it, my work reflected it. It was not good, not good. But like a glutton for punishment, I stayed in this situation for 2 years. Finally, when I decided to leave, I said to my boss, "Aren't you so happy? We don't have to work together anymore." He looked at me like I had 4 heads and said, "What do you mean? I like working with you." All 4 of my heads exploded. I had spent countless hours fantasizing about flipping this guy's desk over and walking out into a hallway lined with fellow fed-up coworkers who began a slow clap scene from every 80s movie. And he hadn't wasted a single second of his time on me. Now I was offended. I was also fascinated. We spend so much energy focusing on what doesn't work and on who doesn't like us and thinking about the worst case scenario. Why do we do that? Psychologists Paul Rosen and Edward Roisman found that human beings are wired to pay more attention to negative than positive stimuli. They call this negativity bias, which was likely developed as survival back when avoiding danger and things that could kill us was a priority. The thing about negativity bias now is that it's exhausting and it's addicting. In focusing on the negative, all we're doing is expanding it. A mentor of mine had a great way to illustrate this. So let's say there's 2% in the world, in our lives, at work that sucks. If you make a circle with your hand, this represents that 2%. If you put this 2% circle down by your side, then all you see is the 98% that's amazing. It's all around us. The problem is that most of us walk around with this 2% circle up at our eye, and then we cover it, and then we close our uncovered eye, and in an instant, the 2% that's terrible becomes 100%. This leads to anxiety, depression, and disconnection. And it wreaks havoc on our lives, our relationships, and our communities. But the solution isn't denial, it's direction. So how do we turn this around? Some of you may know Viktor Frankl. He was the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor who wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning. He says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. In the concentration camps, Frankl noticed that those who lost hope often declined more quickly, whereas those who chose to turn and focus on a greater purpose were more likely to survive. I thought if Viktor Frankl could choose to turn his attention to meaning, the 98%, while immersed in inconceivable horror, then we have no excuse. The question for me was how. After I left my job, it hit me just how much time I'd wasted, fixated on the 2% that was wrong, rather than appreciating all that was right. I was mad at myself. I didn't want to live like that anymore, resentful, reactive, and completely off course. So I went back to Frankl's book and something clicked. I realized I needed a way to reorient, especially when I get hijacked by the 2%. And I needed it to be easy to remember because I'm menopausal and I have brain fog. So I created the turn technique, a radical recalibration to help us change our focus and our future, to expand what is good, what matters, and what's possible. Changing this begins when we pivot from the outer world and tune in. We are so conditioned to focus on what's going outside of us. Competing priorities, expectations of others, the news, that we neglect to tend to what's going on inside. When you tune in, you are instantly resetting your perspective. And this creates the space to choose something different. From here, you can begin to understand. We use this word all the time, but I don't know if we think about what it really means. At its core, understand challenges us to stand in the midst of something in a way that allows comprehension on a deeper level, to get curious, to ask questions, to examine all sides. That's where empathy and insights can emerge. With this new understanding, you're ready to reimagine. Viktor Frankl consistently chose to reimagine the future he wanted. While he was in the camps, he pictured himself giving a lecture after liberation. We also have this capacity to choose to create a new vision that we can turn toward right now. In this moment, you can reimagine a life where you feel energized, a relationship where you feel fully seen and valued, a world where peace exists. Reimagining what the future can look like, the future you want to live in, orients us toward new opportunities, new solutions, and inspires us to now move. When you take inspired action, real change happens. A turn is physical. It literally moves us in a different direction toward that future. That is how powerful a turn could be. And let's be honest, the world could use a turn right now. Everything feels heightened. Families, friends, relationships continue to fracture because we are locked in silos of rabbit holes and righteousness. We're turning away instead of turning toward each other. In the summer of 2020, I noticed something strange beyond the headlines. One of my closest friends just suddenly stopped answering my calls. No warning, no explanation, just silence. At first, I brushed it off because it was COVID and she had kids at home. Months went by, then 2, and eventually I kept reaching out, but nothing. Then I was sitting in my living room, phone in hand, staring at her face and my contacts, and I thought, okay, I have a choice. I can continue to focus on her and her actions, or lack thereof, or I could tune in to what was going on with me. I was worried. I was frustrated. And more than anything, I was confused. Then I got curious and asked myself, what did I do to contribute to this? That's when I began to understand. I traced the breakdown back to a conversation we'd had earlier that summer. My intention was good, but given our political differences, it was becoming evident that some things I said could have been misconstrued. That's when I began to reimagine a different way forward. I was committed to this friendship and unwilling to let anything get in the way of it. So I imagined a different approach with my friend, to reach out to her with humility, curiosity, and compassion. Now I chose to move. I left her a message apologizing for my part. This time she called me back. I listened without needing to be right, which is a very big deal for me. I acknowledged her experience and I shared mine. And then I said to her, just so we're clear, you're not getting rid of me. So if you're angry, turn to me and we will work this out together. She agreed and we made a long-distance pinky swear over it. With new ground rules and way more honesty, like uncomfortable levels of honesty, we restored trust. Then, 3 years later, when she got sick, I immediately jumped on a plane. I had no idea how much that one turn 3 years earlier would mean. So I ask, are you going to focus on the 2% that sucks or the 98% that's amazing? We need you to turn, tune in, understand, reimagine, now move toward each other, toward what matters, and toward the future you want to create. And maybe, if enough of us do, we won't just change our own world, we'll change the whole world, one turn at a time. Thank you.